Is this some kind of joke? I asked, my voice trembling, barely able to rise above the stunned silence. Or was it the mounting wave of disbelief? Behind me, the video continued to play, and every laugh, every sharp gasp from the audience, landed like a blow. Each sound seemed to reverberate through my body, every snicker a blade twisting deeper. My cheeks burned hot with humiliation. I gripped the podium so hard my knuckles blanched, and for a wild moment, I thought I might actually snap it in half. My name's Victoria Reed. I'm 38 years old, founder and CEO of Reed Tech, a company I poured a decade of my life into, building it brick by brick, late night by late night. This stage was supposed to be a place of triumph. My moment. The culmination of years of sacrifice and risk. The centerpiece of our annual Innovation Summit. Employees, clients, partners, even heavyweights from rival firms. All the brightest minds in technology were gathered, waiting for me to show them what came next. Instead, I found myself exposed, stripped of dignity in front of everyone who mattered. A malicious video played, full of lies, and there was nothing I could do but stand there, every second stretching into eternity. Just minutes earlier, the atmosphere had been electric. The anticipation was palpable. I'd stepped onto the stage, half blinded by spotlights, adrenaline surging, heart hammering in my chest. All those months of work and preparation had led to this singular moment. I was ready, or at least I thought I was. I could almost taste the victory, the satisfaction of sharing our latest breakthrough. I reached for my remote, clicking to advance my carefully prepared first slide, certain that my opening would command the room. Instead, the giant screen behind me flickered erratically. I paused, expecting a technical glitch, maybe a delay. But then, without warning, a video started to play. My heart seized as I registered what I was seeing. On the screen was my face, my voice, but the words were not mine. This deep-fake version of me sneered at my employees, dismissed our years of philanthropy, made vulgar jokes about clients, words I would never dream of uttering. For a split second, the audience was silent, then a ripple of gasps, followed by uneasy, nervous laughter. The kind of laughter that makes your skin crawl. I could see confusion and disbelief flickering across faces in the crowd, the rapid shift from trust to suspicion. I turned back to the audience, pulse pounding in my ears so loudly I could barely think. My throat felt tight, my voice threatening to betray me, but I forced myself to speak. "Well," I managed, gripping the podium for dear life, "that's certainly one way to get everyone's attention." No one laughed. If anything, the tension in the room grew heavier, more hostile. People shifted in their seats, uncertain, glancing at each other for cues. The mood had turned. Trust was crumbling, replaced by skepticism and something darker. Let me be clear. I fought to steady my voice, to project the authority I'd spent years cultivating. What you just saw isn't real. It's a fake. I don't know who's behind it yet, but I can promise you. Is it though? A voice cut through the room, sharp and mocking. Laughter erupted, harsher this time, tinged with accusation. I saw phones everywhere, people recording, streaming, documenting my humiliation in real time. It felt as if every eye in the hall was dissecting me, waiting to see if I'd crack. By the time I got off stage, the event organizers had scrambled to announce a sudden 30-minute break. The once celebratory crowd buzzed with speculation, some whispering furiously, others openly staring at me with a mix of curiosity, suspicion, and I realized with a pang satisfaction. There were people here who were glad to see me brought low. My skin prickled under their scrutiny, but I straightened my back, forced my chin up, and walked on. Backstage, I collapsed into a chair, my legs barely able to hold me. The green room, usually a haven, was now thick with tension. Staff members hovered, pretending to look busy, but their eyes kept darting in my direction. My phone was a barrage of notifications, texts, emails, missed calls. Headlines were already piling up. Scandal erupts at Reed Tech Summit. CEO Victoria Reed at center of controversy. Every alert was a fresh blow, a reminder that in the space of a few minutes, everything I'd built was at risk. Those 30 minutes crawled by in slow motion. I could hear the low murmur of the crowd through the thin walls, catching fragments. Video, fake, career ending, each word like a stone thrown through a window. I realized just how fragile a reputation could be. How quickly years of trust could be shredded by a few minutes of convincing forgery. Then Megan, my ever-reliable assistant, burst in. She looked shaken, face pale, eyes wide with fear. "Victoria," she said, voice trembling. "The press is demanding a statement. They're waiting outside. And, honestly, it's bad. Really bad." I could see the worry etched on her face. Not just for me, but for the company, for the hundreds of people whose livelihoods depended on Reed Tech. I stared at her, momentarily speechless, feeling the weight of the world press down on my shoulders. The clock ticked on, the next speaker was already preparing to take the stage, but all I could think was, how do I come back from this? Is it even possible? The days that followed were a blur of crisis meetings, phone calls with lawyers, and endless interviews with investigators. My name dominated the headlines. Every social feed, every industry blog, every whispered conversation at networking events mentioned me. Investigators moved quickly. Digital forensics experts combed through the footage and confirmed what I already knew. The video was a deepfake, an expertly crafted forgery using state-of-the-art AI. It was almost indistinguishable from reality. The truth was on my side, but even as evidence mounted, the damage clung to me like an oil stain. For every article clarifying the facts, there were dozens of comments, tweets, and rumors keeping the story alive. People didn't want the truth. They wanted the scandal, the drama. Some were quick to accept my innocence, but many more shrugged, muttering, "Where there's smoke, there's fire." I heard it all, sometimes directly, like at a networking event where a rival executive, smiling just a little too broadly, said, "Fake or not, Victoria, it's hard to come back from something like this." That one hurt. The implication that my reputation was now permanently stained. Inside Reed Tech, support was outwardly strong. My team rallied, at least in public, posting messages of confidence and unity. But I could sense the doubt simmering beneath the surface. Sidelong glances in meetings, whispered conversations that ended abruptly when I entered the room. People wondered if the company could survive a scandal like this, if their own positions were safe. I wondered too. Every day I had to fight not just for my reputation, but for the future of everything I'd built. In those sleepless nights that followed, I found myself reflecting on the nature of trust, how it's earned slowly and lost in an instant. I thought about how technology, the very thing I'd devoted my life to, had been turned against me in the cruelest way. And yet, even as the world seemed eager to write my epitaph, I knew I couldn't give up. I owed it to myself, to my team, and to everyone who still believed in me. The fight to clear my name and reclaim my company was only just beginning. I could read it in every frown, every nervous glance, every forced smile in the office. Unease, worry, suspicion. The tension felt almost physical, like a low hum vibrating through the halls. People were scared. Some wondered if the sabotage meant something was rotten at the top, that our leadership had lost control. The gossip swirled, louder than ever, and it was clear the news had rattled everyone far beyond my immediate circle. Investors, usually content with their quarterly reports and polite small talk, started grilling me with tougher questions, ones I didn't always have immediate answers for. Clients grew hesitant, dragging their feet on contracts that just a week ago seemed like sure things. My inbox became a relentless flood, and even the most diplomatic messages showed a thinly veiled doubt in my ability to keep Reed Tech afloat. It was like a storm had rolled in, and everyone was waiting to see if I'd be the captain who sank or steered us through. Over and over, I replayed what had happened, unable to let it go. The betrayal gnawed at me, keeping me up at night as I tried to untangle the threads. Who would do this? Who would go so far as to create a deepfake, to humiliate me publicly in front of my peers, my team, my industry? I tried to force the thoughts away, but two names always surfaced, no matter how much I tried to reason myself out of it. Nathan Cross. He runs Cross-Tay, and he's never missed a chance to show how much he despises me, sneering at industry events, calling me lucky to have landed at the head of Reed Tech. Our rivalry isn't just professional. It's personal. We fought over contracts, poached each other's clients, and traded barbed comments in every setting possible. Nathan has always played the aggressor, the provocateur, and I've learned to expect the unexpected from him. Still, sabotage on this scale. It'd be a bold move, even for him, but I wouldn't put it past Nathan to try to destroy my reputation and seize the opening for himself. Then there's Diana Lewis. She was there at the beginning, helping me build Reed Tech from an idea into a real company. But it all fell apart after a bitter argument about the company's direction. She walked away with a settlement, furious and wounded. We haven't spoken since, but I've heard rumors she's been quietly building her own thing, perhaps even trying to compete with us. Was this her way of finally getting even, of showing me I'd made the wrong call by pushing her out? But as I pored over every detail, neither answer sat right with me. Nathan is loud, brash. He wants everyone to see when he lands a punch. He lives for the spectacle, the attention. If he wanted to take me down, he'd do it in the most public way possible, taking credit for the chaos. This attack, on the other hand, was subtle, insidious. It was designed to erode trust, to make me question everything and everyone. That wasn't Nathan's style. He's a bully, but not a strategist. Diana, though, she's different. She's always been deliberate, precise, thinking 3 steps ahead. Our fallout was ugly, full of harsh words and accusations that left scars on both sides. I thought I'd moved on, but maybe she hadn't. Maybe Reed Tech's recent growth had threatened her own ventures, or just stirred up old resentments. The timing lined up. Our company was soaring, getting more press, maybe even crowding her out of the market. Was this her calculated strike, meant as much to settle a personal score as to disrupt my business? The thought lingered, refusing to let go. I found myself pacing my apartment late into the night, going over every interaction, every possible clue. It had to be one of them, Nathan or Diana. The facts and my instincts rarely matched up, leaving me stuck in a loop of doubt and suspicion. I could feel the pressure mounting, my patience stretched thin. Whoever was behind this, they'd underestimated me if they thought I'd just roll over and accept defeat. The next morning, I walked into my office still mired in those thoughts, the weight of suspicion heavy on my shoulders. Megan, my assistant, was already there, sorting through a stack of folders with her usual efficiency. She looked up as soon as I entered, immediately reading the exhaustion etched across my face. "Rough night?" she asked, offering a sympathetic smile. It was the first kindness I'd felt all day. "You could say that," I replied, sinking into my chair. I hesitated, debating how much to share, but decided I needed another perspective. "I need your thoughts, Megan. This deepfake situation, it's driving me crazy. I've narrowed it down to 2 suspects." Megan pulled up a chair, her posture shifting as she prepared to listen. "You've got my full attention. Who are we talking about?" I leaned forward, elbows on the desk, lowering my voice. "Nathan Cross or Diana Lewis. Nathan's always hated me, our companies are direct competitors. If he could ruin me, it'd open the door for him. But this just doesn't feel like him. He's the type to gloat, not hide." Megan nodded thoughtfully. "Yeah, Nathan's not exactly subtle. If he was behind it, I feel like he'd be bragging already. Maybe even letting it slip just to watch you sweat." "Exactly," I said, grateful for her insight. "Then there's Diana. We haven't spoken in years, but she left on bad terms. She's sharp, methodical. I can see her designing something like this, making sure every move is covered." Megan tilted her head, considering. "She definitely has the brains for it. If she's still carrying that grudge, I could see her wanting to make you pay. But she's also smart enough to hide her tracks." I rubbed my eyes, feeling the exhaustion catch up with me. "The problem is, I don't have proof. It's all just gut feeling and circumstantial evidence." Megan leaned in, her expression serious. "Let's break it down. If it's Nathan, what's his endgame? He wants to destroy my credibility. If he can make me look weak, he can scare off clients and investors, then swoop in to pick up the pieces. He's always looking for an advantage. And Diana, Megan pressed. I hesitated, searching for the right words. With Diana, it's personal. She'd want to see me fall, not for money or business, but for revenge. She'd want to hurt me the way I hurt her. Megan sat back, arms crossed. Both motives make sense, but I'm leaning toward Diana. This isn't Nathan's style. It's too subtle, too layered. He's more likely to go for a direct attack. Diana, on the other hand, has reason to make it personal, and she's smart enough to pull it off without leaving a trace. Her words resonated, echoing my own doubts and suspicions. After our conversation, I realized I couldn't just wait for the truth to reveal itself. I'd have to confront this head-on, perhaps even bait them into revealing something. Anything that could confirm my suspicions. If Nathan or Diana was behind this, I'd find a way to expose them. I wouldn't let this attack define me or read tech. If they wanted a fight, I was finally ready to give them one. They were bound to mess up eventually. All it would take was a crack in their composure, a slip of the tongue, and the truth would come tumbling out. I stared at my phone, the glow of the screen illuminating 2 names in my contact list, my thumb suspended above the glass. Nathan first. I could almost hear his voice already. Impulsive, brash, always itching for a fight. He was the type who thrived on chaos, but beneath the swagger he was easy to rattle if you pressed the right buttons. I tapped his number, heart hammering in my chest as the call rang out, each second stretching my nerves thin. He answered after a few rings, his tone sharp, almost irritated, like I'd interrupted something important. Victoria, how are you today? I tried to keep my voice even, casual, as if this was just another routine conversation. But the words tasted false. My mind was already racing ahead to the confrontation I knew was coming. He let out a short, derisive laugh. Let's not waste time pretending this is a social call. I shifted, feigning lightness. Cut the formalities, Nathan. I'm sure you've seen the headlines. He didn't hesitate. Of course. Hard to miss it, isn't it? That video, damn, it's everywhere. Brutal stuff. Almost too perfectly timed, don't you think? Like someone scripted it. His smugness was palpable, and I could picture the satisfied smirk he wore as he said it. I let the silence linger, watching the seconds tick by on my phone. It's fake. You know that, right? He scoffed, voice dropping to a mocking tone. Fake or not, Vic, you know how this game works. Perception's reality. No one cares about the truth when the lie is more interesting. But hey, if you're looking for sympathy, you've called the wrong guy. I'm fresh out. I bit back the urge to snap at him. I'll survive, Nathan. I just thought you might have heard something. Rumors, whispers. You're well connected after all. The line went cold, his laughter abruptly fading. Why would I know anything? You think I'm pulling the strings on this circus? I matched his defensiveness, making my suspicion clear. I'm covering my bases. Wouldn't be the first time you tried to outmaneuver me. His anger flared, sharp and immediate. Don't look at me, Victoria. Unlike some people, I don't need back-alley tricks to get ahead. You want to clean up your mess, do it yourself. He hung up, leaving a lingering bitterness in the air. I leaned back, exhaling a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Nathan's reaction was everything I expected. Prickly, defensive, and full of bravado. He was offended I'd even asked, but for all his bluster, there was nothing solid to latch onto. No slip, no tell. Just more noise and misdirection. My eyes drifted back to the other name on my screen. Jana. Calling her felt heavier, loaded with the weight of old betrayals and unresolved grudges. Memories of our fallout flickered at the edges of my mind. Once allies, now something colder. I tapped her number, bracing myself. She picked up quickly, her voice smooth and cool, every word measured. Well, this is a surprise. Victoria Reed. What can I do for you? Diana, I said, keeping my tone neutral, careful not to betray the tension coiling in my gut. I'm sure you've seen what's circulating. The video. She didn't miss a beat. Hard to ignore. It's everywhere. Ugly stuff, but then again you've made plenty of enemies. It was bound to catch up with you eventually. I let her jab slide off me. Enemies like you. She laughed, sharp and dismissive. If I wanted to bring you down, I wouldn't hide behind some doctored footage. I'd do it where you could see me coming. There was a sting to her words, but I believed her. Diana had always been direct. If she was out for blood, she'd want me to know it was her. So you're saying you had nothing to do with it? I didn't, she replied, her bluntness almost comforting in its honesty. Frankly, I don't have time to worry about you. But if you're looking for the culprit, maybe you should start closer to home. People like you always get taken down from the inside. She ended the call before I could respond, her last words echoing in my mind, unsettling and persistent, a seed of doubt that immediately began to take root. I set my phone down, the implications swirling around me. Closer to home. It sounded like a throwaway line, but the more I turned it over in my mind, the heavier it felt. Was it possible? Could someone in my own circle, someone I trusted, be behind this? The idea left a sour taste in my mouth, a wave of nausea settling in my gut. I replayed both conversations, searching for anything I might have missed. A tone, a hesitation, a slip. Nathan had been himself, all bravado and wounded pride, but genuinely affronted at the accusation. Diana was cold, but if she was guilty, she would have relished the opportunity to throw it in my face. Instead, she'd pointed the finger back at me, or rather, at those closest to me. The office door opened, and Megan walked in with a stack of reports. Her face was unreadable, calm but alert, like she was already anticipating bad news. "How'd it go?" she asked, dropping the papers on my desk with a soft thud. I sighed, rubbing my temples. "About as well as you'd expect." Nathan was on edge, defensive. Diana was herself. Neither of them gave me anything solid. Megan sat across from me, folding her hands in her lap, her gaze steady. "Maybe Diana's right. Maybe you're looking in the wrong places. Sometimes the real threat isn't out there. It's right beside you." Her words cut deeper than I cared to admit, especially since they echoed Diana's almost exactly. "You think someone at Reed Tech would go this far? Leak a fake video, sabotage everything?" She shrugged, her expression unreadable. "You've made hard choices, Victoria. Not all of them popular. Maybe someone's had enough." It was a possibility I hadn't wanted to face, but I couldn't ignore it. If this was an inside job, that meant whoever did it knew the company intimately. Had access to sensitive footage, security systems, maybe even passwords. The thought chilled me. "Exactly," Megan said quietly, as if reading my thoughts. "If it's someone on the inside, they'd know exactly where to hit you." The weight of her suggestion pressed down on me, heavier than before. If this attack came from within Reed Tech, it meant I'd been blind to the threat, too focused on external enemies to see the danger in my own ranks. Whoever did this wasn't just out to hurt my reputation. They wanted to destroy everything I'd built. The days that followed blurred into a haze of suspicion and sleepless nights. I launched a quiet investigation. No one outside of Megan and IT knew. I asked them to comb through every inch of our systems for signs of unauthorized access. Every meeting, every casual conversation in the hallway, took on a new edge. I found myself analyzing every word, every gesture, wondering if I was looking at the person who'd betrayed me. Megan and I became partners in paranoia, working late into the night, dissecting every piece of evidence. She was relentless, organizing files, cross-referencing timelines, scrutinizing even the smallest discrepancies. She had a knack for spotting patterns, for connecting dots I hadn't even noticed. If there was a thread to unravel, I knew she'd find it. One night, as the office lay cloaked in shadows, the only light coming from my desk lamp, Megan leaned back in her chair, exhaustion etched into her face. "What if this isn't about money or competition?" she said quietly. "What if it's personal? What if someone's been waiting for the right moment to take you down? Not just your company, but you." Her words hung in the air, heavy as stone. In that moment, the truth felt closer than ever, but more frightening too. Because if the attack was personal, if it came from someone who knew me, someone I trusted, then the real enemy was much harder to root out. And the damage they could do was far worse than any rivals. I glanced up from my laptop, the words Megan had just spoken looping in my mind, impossible to untangle. This wasn't just an attack on Reed Tech. It was aimed at you. Her eyes locked onto mine, the seriousness in her gaze making it hard to look away. The way that video was cut, the details it highlighted, it was engineered to humiliate you, Victoria. Not just damage Reed Tech's reputation. Her words landed like a blow. I'd been so preoccupied with the fallout, the frantic calls from the board, the media firestorm, the endless stream of crisis meetings, that I hadn't let myself think about what it all meant for me personally. But Megan was right. This wasn't just about corporate sabotage. Someone wanted to wound me where it hurt most. My professional pride, yes, but also my sense of self. The question that echoed in my head, cold and insistent, was, why me? Sleep was a luxury that night. I kept replaying the video, searching for hidden motives, faces in the crowd, anyone who might have wanted me brought low. By the time morning arrived, I felt brittle, clutching my coffee like it was the only thing keeping me upright. As I tried to gather myself for another day of damage control, my phone buzzed. New email, Tom from IT. The subject line made my heart skip. Update on deep fake investigation. Victoria, we found a possible lead. Can you come down to IT to discuss? I didn't hesitate. Within minutes I was in the IT department, the hum of servers and the sharp scent of overheated electronics filling the air. Tom's office looked like a hacker's den. Multiple screens filled with scrolling logs, post-its littered everywhere, a mess of wires and coffee mugs. He motioned for me to sit, his face tense, eyes flickering between excitement and fatigue. We've been working non-stop, he said, running a hand through his hair. We dug into the server logs, looking for any unusual activity during the window when the video was uploaded. Around that time, someone accessed the presentation server remotely. From outside the company? I asked, leaning forward, anxiety prickling the back of my neck. Tom shook his head. No, the access point was internal. But whoever it was used a VPN to mask their location. We traced the connection to the communications department. I frowned, trying to make sense of it. Communications. Why there? It makes sense, Tom replied, tapping at his keyboard. They have access to all the public-facing content, presentations, graphics, video files, event software. If someone wanted to hijack your keynote, they'd need that level of access. It was logical but unsettling. I'd worked closely with the communications team, trusted them with countless sensitive projects. Now the suspicion narrowed to people I saw every day, people who smiled at me in the hallway. I took a breath, steeling myself. What's next? Yes. We're doing a forensic scan, Tom explained, pulling up a list of workstation IDs on his screen. We'll isolate which machine connected through the VPN during the breach. Once we have that, it'll point us to a specific user account. I nodded, my voice sharper than I'd intended. Good. Keep this between us, Tom. No one else needs to know until we're sure. He nodded solemnly. As I walked out, the gravity of it pressed down on me. Someone in communications. Someone who'd been part of the team, who'd worked on the event, maybe even joked with me over coffee. The circle of suspects was shrinking, but the truth felt further away than ever. That afternoon Tom called me back. His office felt different now. Darker, the glow from the monitors casting sharp shadows. Tom's face was grim, his fingers drumming nervously on the desk. We've isolated the workstation, he said, voice low. The VPN connection during the incident originated from a terminal assigned to Anna Carver, a junior associate in communications. I tried to conjure up Anna's face. She was new, quiet, usually the last to leave meetings, always polite. The idea that she could be behind this didn't fit, but the evidence said otherwise. What else have you found? Press. Tom's brow furrowed as he pulled up another set of data. Here's where it gets strange. Anna's credentials were used to log into the system at the exact moment the video went live. But the access didn't come from her usual office. It was traced to a workstation backstage during the summit. Felt a chill. So whoever did this was physically present in the building during my keynote? Tom nodded. Right. And there's more. We synced the login times with security camera footage from backstage. There's a clip from just before your presentation was cut off. He clicked, and grainy footage appeared on the screen. A figure in a black blazer, head turned away from the camera, swiped an ID card and sat down at the workstation. The timestamp matched perfectly. I squinted at the footage. The build, the way the person carried themselves. It wasn't Anna. Not even close. Suddenly the realization hit me, cold and sharp. I knew that posture. I'd seen it daily, in meetings, in after-hours brainstorming sessions. Megan. The realization made my stomach drop. Megan. My confidant through this whole ordeal, the one who'd urged me to look for personal motives, who seemed to care the most. She'd been the one to betray me. It felt surreal, like watching the ground crack open beneath my feet. The walk back to my office was a blur. My mind raced, piecing together every conversation, every moment I'd let my guard down around Megan. All that trust weaponized against me. By the time I reached my office door, shock had hardened into something sharper. Anger tinged with humiliation. Megan was already there, typing away at her desk, looking for all the world like nothing had changed. She glanced up, her smile practiced and easy, familiar and suddenly foreign. "Hey Victoria," she chirped the same way she always did. "Tom said you were down in IT. Any big breakthroughs on the investigation?" Her calmness made my skin crawl. I forced my own smile, trying not to betray the turmoil inside. "Nothing yet," I said, keeping my tone even. "But we're getting close." She didn't blink, didn't falter. If anything, her eyes sparkled with curiosity, maybe even anticipation. "That's good," she said, her voice smooth. "Whoever did this deserves whatever's coming to them." I stared at her, realizing how little I'd really known her. The office felt colder, the world smaller. The truth was out there now, coiled between us like a secret waiting to explode. And as the day went on, I knew, this wasn't just about Reed Tech anymore. This was about the cost of trust, and what happens when the person you count on most is the one quietly orchestrating your fall. I nodded, slow and heavy, her betrayal settling in my chest like a stone dropped into deep water. "Oh, they will," I said. My voice sounded steady, almost cold, but inside a storm was raging. Fear, anger, and a hollow ache twisting together. "I'll make sure of it." That night, my apartment felt cavernous. Even the hum of the city outside seemed muted, swallowed up by the weight of what Megan had done. Her betrayal pressed on me, sharp and relentless, each breath tight and shallow. I stood by the window and stared at the distant skyline, watching as headlights traced silent patterns through the streets below. My mind wouldn't stop replaying everything. Every conversation, every trusting glance, every moment I'd let my guard down. Megan had been at my side for years. I'd called her my friend, my confidant. I'd trusted her with secrets I'd never shared with anyone else. Now every memory felt poisoned. I knew I had to expose her. The evidence was undeniable. Documents, security logs, surveillance footage. But how I chose to do it would shape both our futures. If I confronted her alone, she'd twist the story, maybe even turn it back on me. If I went public too quickly, I risked looking vindictive, making the company's crisis even worse. I could try to catch her off guard, but that would mean waiting, planning, risking her slipping away or destroying more evidence. Every option felt like walking a tightrope above an abyss. I leaned back in my chair, eyes closed, replaying every scenario. Megan thought she was untouchable, that our history meant I wouldn't dare go through with this. She believed I'd flinch. She was wrong. Betrayal from a stranger was one thing, but betrayal from someone you'd trusted, that demanded consequences. By morning my plan was set. Subtlety no longer mattered. Clarity did. The entire company deserved to know the truth, not just for my sake, but to send a message that no one, not even the closest among us, could undermine Reed Tech and walk away unscathed. There could be no question of my motives, no shadow of doubt. This had to be decisive. I called Megan into my office, my voice even almost impersonal. "We're holding a company-wide town hall this afternoon," I told her. "It's about the deep fake investigation. I want you there by my side. You've been my closest ally through all this, and it's only right you're part of the resolution." She didn't flinch. Instead, she smiled, a little too quickly. There was a glint in her eyes, almost smug, as if she still believed she could control the narrative. "Of course, Victoria. I'll be there." The hours leading up to the event blurred together. Tom hurrying in and out of my office as he finalized the evidence, me pacing and rehearsing what I'd say. I kept picturing the faces of my employees, the trust one owed them, the responsibility that came with leadership. By the time the auditorium filled, the tension was electric. People crowded in, hungry for answers. Megan sat to my left, calm and composed. Her lips curved in that same small, inscrutable smile. Tom sat on my right, his laptop open, ready. I stepped up to the podium, heart pounding so loudly I was afraid they'd hear it. "Thanks for being here," I began, forcing my voice to sound steady, authoritative. Inside, I felt like I was standing in the eye of a hurricane. "As you all know, Reed Tech has been under intense scrutiny after a malicious deep-fake video disrupted our innovation summit. Today, we're sharing the results of our investigation." I nodded to Tom. He stood, projecting confidence. He walked the audience through each piece of evidence: VPN logs, suspicious badge scans, security footage. The silence in the room grew heavier with every slide. At last, Tom clicked to the final image. A crisp still of Megan at a backstage workstation, her face unmistakable. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. "The individual responsible for the sabotage is Megan Lawson," Tom said, voice unwavering. "We have incontrovertible evidence linking her to the incident." All eyes turned to Megan. For the first time, her mask slipped. Her cheeks flushed red. Her hands gripped the armrests so tightly her knuckles turned white. This is ridiculous," she stammered, her voice trembling. "You've got it wrong." I stepped forward, my gaze fixed on hers. "Megan, the evidence doesn't lie. You had access. You made the upload. You betrayed this company, and me." She sprang up from her seat, anger and desperation written across her face. "You don't understand. This has to be some kind of mistake." Tom stayed calm, scrolling through more footage. "There's no mistake. The badge was stolen, but you used it. The fingerprints on the keypad, they're yours. Megan, you've been caught." A murmur swept through the room, people whispering, shifting uncomfortably. The tension was thick, almost suffocating. Megan turned to me, her voice barely holding together. "Victoria, you can't really believe I'd do this to you. We've worked together for years. I've always been loyal." I met her gaze, my expression hardening. "Loyalty isn't sabotaging my career, Megan. Loyalty isn't risking the entire company for your own gain. If you have anything to say for yourself, now's the time. Tell the truth this time." She faltered, her eyes darting desperately around the room as if looking for an escape. She seemed to shrink, her bravado dissolving. For a moment, she just stared at the floor, lips pressed tight. Then, her voice cracked, barely above a whisper. I was pushed into it," she blurted, her composure crumbling. "I didn't want to, but..." "But what?" I pressed, my voice soft but relentless. "Who pushed you? Why did you do it?" Her shoulders sagged, the fight draining out of her. She slumped back into her chair, her hands shaking. "It wasn't about the company," she admitted, her words heavy with shame. "It was about you. You've always had everything: respect, success, recognition. I'm just the assistant. Always in your shadow." A stunned hush fell over the room. Her confession lingered in the air, exposing wounds deeper than any professional rivalry. Megan looked up at me, guilt and bitterness tangled in her eyes. "I thought if I could make people doubt you, maybe I'd finally matter. Maybe people would notice me. I was tired of being invisible, tired of watching you get all the credit, the promotions, the praise. I thought, just once, maybe I could be the one people looked up to. The pain in her voice was raw, almost childlike. I stood there, my heart hammering. Her words hurt in ways I hadn't expected, not just because of the betrayal, but because I realized how blind I'd been to her struggle. She'd never said a word, never asked for more, yet the resentment had grown until it twisted into something dangerous. I took a deep breath, struggling to control my own emotions. Around us, the room remained silent, every face watching, waiting. Megan's confession had changed everything. Her career was over, but the ripples of her actions would go much further. The trust that held us together had been broken, and I knew things would never be the same. It wasn't just the betrayal that got to me. It was the envy and resentment Megan dragged around with her, like baggage she refused to drop. I looked at her, my voice softer, but I didn't let up. Megan, you could have just talked to me. You didn't have to rip me apart just to feel noticed. What you did, it's not just personal. It's criminal. She buried her face in her hands. I turned to the rest of the team, everyone sitting there watching. Reed Tech runs on trust, I said, keeping my voice steady. When someone breaks that trust, there are consequences. I didn't press charges. I just fired her. I wanted justice, sure. But honestly, I wanted closure more. Dragging this mess through court wouldn't give me the peace I needed. Megan's confession said it all. She ruined herself with her own ambition. There was no coming back from that. The days after felt unreal. Megan's betrayal was everywhere. Newsrooms, podcasts, you name it. Headlines screamed things like Reed Tech scandal, assistant sabotages CEO with deep fake, and betrayal at the top. How envy almost toppled Victoria Reed. Her name, her face, her actions, picked apart by experts and commentators, condemned from every angle. Inside Reed Tech, people rallied around me. They were relieved the truth was out and offered their support. Investors hesitated at first, but then they started to come back, putting their trust in the company again. While the world obsessed over Megan, I kept my eyes on what mattered, rebuilding my reputation, my company, and the trust of the people who stuck with me. I called Nathan and Diana. I owed them an apology for doubting them, and to my surprise, they forgave me without hesitation. It was a small thing, but it mattered. It helped clear the air. And Megan, she got what she wanted. Everyone noticed her, just not the way she imagined. Instead of respect, she ended up infamous. Her name became a warning, tied to a betrayal that cost her everything. I couldn't waste any more time thinking about her. I had a company to run, a future to build. Time to leave her shadow behind. By the way, if you enjoyed the story, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. It helps us out and makes sure you won't miss the stories we share here. Thanks for watching. See you next time.